I do want to talk a little bit about the games that did happen on Monday. And you know what? I kind of just want to start with this. Like I was pretty impressed with what Duke was able to do against a good Jacksonville team. I was pretty impressed with what Villanova was able to do against a good, well, not a good, but against a rival in LaSalle. I thought Kentucky blowing doors off Howard without Oscar Sheboy, without Severe Wheeler, without Damian Collins was pretty impressive. North Carolina kind of won ugly. But to me, the biggest takeaway, like Memphis might be really, really, really good. I rewatched them yesterday, and like they can really get out and gorgeous. So, Tio, I'm going to you first on this one. What was your big, major 35,000-foot view takeaway from the first night of the season?
Kind of, I alluded to it at the beginning. I think point guards are undervalued now, and you look at Memphis too. That's an old team as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so much influx right now as far as people taking players in transfer portal and all that stuff. Some of these teams that have some consistency with their roster are playing well early. But I think Memphis is going to be good because, man, they're old, aren't they? Don't they have the oldest NBA draft eligible player? I think he's 25 years old. What's the power forward's name?
DeAndre Williams is older than Fanta.
Yeah,
I'm not
close.
kidding. I'm not
We
kidding.
joke,
Fanta,
but he's close.
Fanta, how
He's
old
close.
Well, I'm 27. He's very, very close.
Oh, damn, you got him. You got him.
Yeah, he's really close. I think roster continuity is a big one, and then point guards. I mean, at this stage of college basketball, is lacking.
Yeah. My takeaway actually goes to the Atlantic 10. I think St. Louis is the real deal, and they are ready for the season, and they're going to make some real noise. I'm really fascinated to see them next weekend, the weekend after this one, at Mohegan Sun, when they're in an MTE with Miami, Providence, and Maryland. Because I think St. Louis could absolutely win that MTE. And frankly, I would call them the best team of those four right now. When you think about Gibson Jimerson, when you think about Yuri Collins, and when you think about Perkins, what that team has in terms of options, like Travis Ford has options. He had two guys go for 20, and Perkins went for 21. The fact is, on any given night, the Billikens have a different guy who can step up and deliver that for them. And they rolled. I mean, they dominated Murray State. They beat them by 23, scored 91. Like I'm really impressed, guys, with St. Louis, and I think they showed me they're a top 25 team in the country this year. There were a lot of takeaways, but that was a result that I looked at, and then I see what they did from a distribution standpoint. Yuri Collins on opening night, guys, 14 assists, not a single turnover.
Point guard play, Tio.
They have it.
Play. There's not enough of them. Yeah, there's not enough of them. Early in the season, it matters more too. I think point guards like Yuri, who have been with their head coaches, is significant too. Because you see all these low majors playing these high majors, and they're switching defenses. Like I said earlier, like you have to have some continuity there, and that's tough.
Mm-hmm. I also will add, I watched the entirety of the Auburn George Mason game, and I came away pretty underwhelmed with the Tigers, to be honest. Like to me, they're ranked 15th in the country. That looked like a top 35, top 40 team to me. Their guards are still going to be the problems, like still going to have those issues. Their bigs are just like Janai Broom was like fine. You know, he's big, he's physical, and he completely overpowered a George Mason team that has nobody inside.
He had 4 blocks.
Huh?
He had 4 blocks.
Yeah, but I mean, it's George Mason. Like the question
George Mason,
was,
he should have 2 blocks before the game starts.
So here's the thing. Like that's just a horrible matchup for Mason, because Mason's question marks are, what are they going to do at the point, and do they have enough size and athleticism up front? And you know what Auburn does? They get out and they guard you for 94 feet. They dare referees to call a foul on every single possession, and they have just a wave of like big athletic dudes that can go and pound you inside. George Mason couldn't get a rebound, and they turned the ball over too much. And that's what ended up doing them in. And I don't think that Auburn is going to be able to do that to the teams at their level, if that makes sense. So I was a little bit underwhelmed.
One other takeaway from opening night. We might have bought too much. Guilty. And I'm ready to say I'm guilty, even after one game. I might have bought too much stock in TCU. And I say that because I don't know, guys, like perimeter shooting was the issue coming into the season. And based on, it was one game, but like TCU, as tough as they are defensively, as great of a rebounding team as they are, I think they can make a tournament run. I think they can win 1 or 2 games, but I think some of us looked at them as, are they a top 10 caliber team? It's early, but that team really struggles to shoot the basketball. Against Pine Bluff, 4 for 21 from 3. And that's what did them in last year when they were really struggling. They're tough as nails. I'm not going to write them off. I'm not writing off the Horned Frogs. But I think in terms of calling them a top 10 team, when you struggle as much as they do in terms of perimeter shooting, it's hard to be a top 10 team in the country.
Yeah. Who didn't play?
Damian Ball. Damian Ball didn't play.
Their point guard.
Yeah, which was kind of an issue. Mike Miles had cramps in the second half. Yeah. And the biggest reason they struggled in that game was Arkansas Pine Bluff didn't miss a shot for the first 15 minutes. I think they started 11 for 13 from 3, or maybe it was 10 for 13 from 3, or something insane like
wow.
that. And that's just
then the rest of the game. How about them turning it on then? Yeah, would you say 11 for 13 from 3? Then they shot 2 of 21 the rest of the game.
Yeah, it was something crazy. Wow. I don't have the exact. I know they hit 10 threes in the first half, and it just.
Excuse me, I'm looking. Yeah,
there's going to be nights where the team that you play just doesn't miss, and that happened on a night where TCU didn't have their point guard and couldn't buy a bucket. So, I also do think that
it happened at Stetson. It happened at Florida State.
Yeah, who did they smack? They smacked around somebody in a scrimmage. So they definitely came into this game feeling themselves. We're playing Pine Bluff. They ranked 361st on Ken Palm. We're going to beat this team by 1,000. And you know what? D1 basketball players are D1 basketball players for a reason. It is what it is. Creighton. I don't know if either of you guys had a chance to watch that. They were losing to St. Thomas in the second half. I'm not worried about them at all. I am on the Creighton bandwagon. I've been calling them a Final Four team. I've been saying that they're the best team in the Big East. I thought that St. Thomas ran a lot of really interesting stuff and had some.
Dude, they're good.
Yeah, they're well coached. They pulled people away from the basket. They shot it well in the first half. And Creighton could not buy a bucket on open looks. I don't think Baylor Shireman is going to shoot as poorly as he did. I don't think as a team they are going to shoot as poorly as they did. And Ryan Nembhard was kind of bad.
Can I throw a little caveat in there with St. Thomas because I think they're pretty good.
The Tommies.
Minnesota up until this year was the only Division I program in that state. So St. Thomas was getting a bunch of guys that weren't quite that level, but they were getting much better players. They've been good for a long time. So
the Great Lakes region. That's why the Great Lakes region has incredible Division III basketball. With the Wisconsin State schools outside of Madison, Wisconsin Whitewater and Wisconsin Green Bay, not Green Bay. There's I'm blanking on the name. Anyway, they constantly make Final Fours and win Division III Final Fours because you got all these really good basketball players from Wisconsin that don't want to leave the state but aren't good enough to play at Wisconsin or play at Green Bay. So you have all these guys that probably should be it's the same thing. You have all these guys that probably should be low major D1 or Division II, and they're all just playing D3,
exactly,
kicking everyone's ass.
Exactly right.
Hey, another opening night takeaway.
What do you got?
Coleman Hawkins keeps getting better.
You know what Humble says about him?
What?
Humble says, "I'll believe in Coleman Hawkins when he doesn't do it against a directional school." He said that on our Big Ten preview show.
I hear you.
Who did they play?
They played EIU. They played Eastern Illinois.
Is that a directional school?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. But I think
I'm with you.
I think just because I think a lot of people see life after Kofi Cockburn and Trent Frazier, and they immediately make their conclusion that Illinois is not as good. Folks, by being different and more versatile, Illinois is probably going to be better suited to win in March.
Yeah, they get lineup versatility. We talk about that a lot with different. I love that Illinois team and Dane Danger, who played well,
17 and 10.
And he's a good player. He reminds me a lot of Eli Thomas, who played at Clemson a few years
Folks,
ago.
Look at a trend.
Kind of the same kind of guy.
Look at a trend, America. We're going to keep looking at this. Kids that joined a program in the second semester, what they end up doing when no one's watching them. I have UConn Monday night. Alex Caravan is a real weapon for Danny Hurley. You know why? He spent second semester with the Huskies behind the scenes, learning the program. He trained with Shabazz Napier, and it paid off. And by the way, Robert, Adama Sanogo combined with Donovan Clingan is a scary 1-2 punch. The question now for the Huskies is, can they stay healthy? Jordan Hawkins with a head injury. We're still waiting to hear what exactly is going on there.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to necessarily get an update until like right before the next game, but I would expect that he'll be out for like, you're playing BU and a bunch of like, there's no point in playing him at this point. Like, let him get healthy. He's had a concussion before. Even if he's not in the protocol, like get that man wrapped in bubble wrap for a couple weeks. Last thing, T.O., Tennessee, your boy Julian Phillips, they're no joke.
They're good, right?
Yeah,
there's a lot of weapons there, and defensively they're always going to be good because Barnes gets those dudes to guard and they're tough. The one that it was an underrated transfer pickup. Tyreek Key can go, man. Like this guy, 6'2", 215 pounds. He's built like a brick shit house. Like this dude is huge, and he can just find ways to score. He's smart. Hit 4 threes in their first game, and then like he's just another solid piece, a bench benefactor of coming off and playing against a second unit. Like buys into his role, and he's ready to go. Now, I think he started this game. Did he start?
He came off the bench.
Okay, so yeah, but regardless, my point stands. Like somebody who can give them an extra boost of scoring, and then Julian's pretty good. Went 0 for 4 from 3 in that game, but that's going to flip. I mean, the kid can shoot it. We'll see how it goes, but they're another team, old, have big time talent. Now they have an off the bench scorer who can change the flow of a game, can change the momentum. Pretty good. Yeah.
Well, I like what Rick Barnes said about Key, and Rick. As long as he's coached, like this quote says a lot to me. He said, what Tyreek did is not a surprise. His demeanor never changes. He has been everything we thought he could be. He can be more. When Rick Barnes says that about you on night one, that speaks to me. Tennessee is better offensively. They're better offensively. They have depth, and they have legitimate pace. The Vols have real pace.
They did take a lot of threes.
I don't mind it. Let it fly.
Whoa. Hold on. We need a 20-second timeout here. Terrence Oglesby is complaining about a team taking too many threes. You all right, bro?
68%.
Is that a cry for help? Is that a cry for help?
68%.
Do you need me to set? Do you
no,
need
but they need
this check?
But the problem,
okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. They need to get to the cup a little bit more. I understand they shot it well. Well, actually, they didn't really shoot it well. 31%. Like they need to get to the cup a little bit more to get some easy ones. They did smack Tennessee Tech. Tennessee Tech's not going to be great, but you gotta find ways to put pressure on.
Wait a minute. Yeah. What if I told you you're only going to take 2s this game?
But there needs to be an even distribution. 70%.
Yeah, that they probably took too many threes, but when you're up by 100, like it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
That's right. It doesn't matter. Right. It doesn't matter. Well, listen, this has been fun. I'm looking forward to next week when we actually have like more interesting games to talk about. I am thinking maybe Wednesday. We're gonna do this right here live on there. Wednesday when you get to Austin, T.O. maybe, or Thursday after we get home. There's a whole bunch of travel going on next week, so we're gonna have to try to find a time to make a podcast work. But whatever it ends up being, we will make sure that we get content to you because we're going to have the Champions Classic to talk about. We will be there. Me and Fanta will be there. We will have Gonzaga at Texas to talk about. Me and T.O. are going to be down there. And I know that you guys have games coming up all week. So for John Fanta, for Terrence Oglesby, this has been the DTF Podcast.
Ryder, now you do know her.